Whoop, whoop.
Okay, episode 12. We are Danny and Sean. There we go. Okay. We are amateur adventurers, gym owners, online coaches,
Photographer.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about what's the difference between lifting weights versus strength training.
Yeah.
Prevail Strength and Fitness.
I feel very ants in my pants right now. Okay.
We'll try to keep
because
this
I kind of wanted to talk about
quick. What?
Well, I really just wanted to see, but I guess I won't know the votes immediately. How many people have decorated for Christmas yet? Because right now it's November the 17th.
Okay.
And we have a couple lights up, but that's it.
Okay.
And I usually wait until Thanksgiving, but we're going to be gone a lot. So I was like, might as well do it early. Okay, we can get started on strength training.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have it's November what?
17th.
17th. Do you have your Christmas decorations up?
Oh, is it the 7th? Or is it the 16th? Oh, it is the 17th. Yeah. All right.
All right. So, Prevail Strength and Fitness. And we talk about strength training quite a bit.
Yes.
And have for a long time.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Coming up on a decade of teaching strength training.
Yeah.
And we see this all the time across the industry and across, socials and other stuff where people, like, we can say the word strength training and then you'll see it everywhere. We do strength training. We do, or like a strength training class or strength training element or, the second half of something is, do we do strength training?
Or lift or whatever.
Yeah, but specifically you see the word strength training quite a bit. And it's
Yeah,
becoming more and more popular, which is awesome.
Yes.
We love that it's becoming more popular. It's becoming a new, kind of this, how HIIT was 10 years ago. It's like strength training is the new phase, new kind of
Yeah.
there's lots of really great science coming out about all the benefits that we've known forever about strength training. But I think there's a lot of misconception about what is strength training. And then if I have weights in my hand, am I doing strength training?
Okay. Yep.
Right. And there's a lot of methods and there's a lot of type of exercise programs and gyms and, I don't know, I guess online kind of like PDFs or templates or lots of things about there about you can see someone lifting a weight, but is that strength training?
Right.
So what are, first and foremost, strength training? How do we know we're doing strength training?
How?
Are we measurably getting stronger?
Okay.
That's pretty much, so that's the first out of the gate.
Yes.
If we're doing strength training, we are measurably getting stronger. So are you getting stronger at some sort of lifts or the ability to lift something or yourself or whatever it is that you're doing, and now you can do more than you did previously?
Okay.
You have become trained in the ability to gain more strength.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
So if you're never gaining any strength
Okay.
measurably, are we still strength training? Asterisks. What does that mean? Because if we stopped gaining strength and we're maintaining it, right? You're still doing strength training.
Right.
But if let's just take something like, I don't know. Let's take something like a push-up.
Okay.
And let's say that you always do push-ups from your thighs, from your knees, right? And they could get easier. You could do more of them, maybe, right? That's a variation of strength training. But if you never get the ability to do a full on your toes push-up,
okay,
right? There's not enough strength training there.
Right.
Let's say you get to the ability to do, for a female, if a female can do 10 solid push-ups, that's pretty strong.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good, relative strength, body weight.
Yeah.
You can own that kind of, that's pretty strong.
Yeah.
But if someone has the ability to continue to do 10 push-ups indefinitely,
Okay.
right? If you're training push-ups and you're holding at 10, you're still doing strength training.
Right.
right?
Right.
But if I'm lifting, 8-pound dumbbells over and over and over again, and I can never do more than 8-pound dumbbells. I can never do more reps with 8-pound dumbbells. I'm just moving weights through space.
Right. Because you're not getting any
right
change from that.
Right. And that's the difference. So the next one. So the first one is, are we measurably getting stronger?
Okay.
2, are there any adaptations happening?
Right.
So adaptations comes from, I have a result from a stimulus. Now in traditional, most fitness, the traditional result out of the gate is, am I sweating? Am I breathing hard? Am I tired?
Am I burning more calories?
Am I burning calories? Okay, so if we take those are all, I would say, 60-minute results, right? And if that's if that's the result that we're repeating over and over and over again, week after month after year, and we keep chasing that 60-minute result, right? There's no more stimulus because there's no adaptations.
Sure.
Because I'm not getting, if anything, the adaptation I'm getting is, it's becoming easier and easier and easier.
Right. And then you're really not giving yourself any challenge.
Right. You're
something new.
If you take something like, I can run 3 miles in 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Right?
Right.
And then you're like, okay, 3 miles in 45 minutes, that's tough. That's kind of aerobic, but there's strength in your legs to make yourself go that far.
Yeah.
And then that was you're tired, sweaty, out of breath.
Yeah.
And now it takes you've adapted to, you can do it in 40 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. And it's not as tiring, not as sweaty, not as out of breath. And then you indefinitely always just do 40 minutes. And it's always the same 6 out of 10 hard for your 40-minute 3-mile run. All the time. You've become adapted to it. There's no more stimulus to change. Right?
Yep.
So a lot of lifting weights, if I'm continually kind of only pushing the 60-minute adaptation, which is none, right? There's no changes. So strength training is going to be where I have strength training, and we'll kind of buckle that, round that up into hypertrophy training. What's the difference between strength training and hypertrophy training?
Sure.
What is the difference? What's the difference between strength training and hypertrophy training and a result?
Building muscle versus
building
strength. Getting stronger.
Right. Okay.
Even though you can kind of do Anyways.
Right. So we'll talk about building muscle or building strength, or becoming
and what the difference means.
Right. Or gaining new mobility in something. Right. These are all So the adaptation is going to be: am I building muscle? Am I creating strength? Right. And even if you take the aerobic or a heart rate conditioning, like a lung conditioning, right? Am I, can I do the same distance with less effort, with less beats per minute?
Right, lower heart rate.
Right. These are all adaptations. And when do those adaptations happen?
When you repeat.
When you repeat. And what's in between doing it and repeating?
Recovery.
So that's another strength training versus lifting weights. If I lift weights and then I can go back and do it again, do it again, go back, do it again, back, do it again, right? Whatever random things I'm doing, day after day after day after day, and there's no recovery.
Right.
But I can continue to push, and I keep getting out of breath, tired, sweaty. Right? There's no time for adaptation. And that's what strength training is strength training and hypertrophy training and even cardiac training is you do something with a specific demand. There's a lull. During that lull, I gain strength, or I gain muscle, or I gain conditioning that I repeat, and now I have an adaptation to that stimulus with recovery.
Right.
And then you just repeat that cycle over and over and over and over again to become stronger, to build muscle, to do all the things you're doing.
Right.
In lifting weights, and if I need to repeat that stimulus, this becomes the next biggest thing about what is strength training and what is lifting weights, is there progressive overload?
Right.
So if I randomly do 50 push-ups, 50 squats, and 50 sit-ups,
Right.
Okay. I'm moving through space, which
Yes.
is great. It's high. That's awesome that you're exercising.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next time I do it, I do 50 and 50 and 50.
Mm-hmm.
And the next time I do it, I do 50, 50, 50.
Right.
Okay. Eventually, I'm going to become adapted to my ability to do the 50, 50, 50.
Right.
And then I'm not going to have any more change
Mm-mm.
because I don't have any more stimulus.
Yeah.
But all I've done is I've just become adapted to be doing 50.
Right.
It's not like if I did 50 knee push-ups, 50 knee push-ups, 50 knee push-ups, I can all of a sudden like, oh, now I have the ability to do 10 full push-ups.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So there has to be progressive overload. Now, if we're doing random things all the time,
Mm-hmm.
there's no adaptations, but I'm still getting the 60-minute result.
Right.
So
You're
that
still
would
getting
be,
the benefit of moving.
right. But that's lifting weights. That's not strength training.
Right.
So with progressive overload, if I say something like, oh, I'm going to do, let's use the 50, right?
Sure.
Let's just say I'm going to do, I'm going to do 5 sets of 5 hard push-ups.
Okay.
That's 25 reps.
Mm-hmm.
Next time I come in, I'm going to do 5 sets of 6.
Mm-hmm.
So I have, right?
Right.
So now
Mhm.
I'm at 30
30.
push-ups.
Mhm.
And then next time I come in, I do 5 sets of 7.
Mhm.
And then do 5 sets of 8. And then do 5 sets of 9. And do
Mhm.
5 sets of 10. I've gone from 25 to 50. I've progressively overloaded so that every time I do it, I have a new stimulus to adapt to.
Yep.
So that's another difference between strength training and lifting weights. When you're doing your exercises, is the next variation the same? And then from that same, are you beat or repeating that stimulus? That would be a good sign that you're doing strength training.
Right.
If I'm doing a random list of things, a random list of things, a random list of things,
Right.
and a month later I've done a whole bunch of random things, I haven't had any specific stimulus to adapt from
Mm-hmm.
beyond, yes, I move my body through space.
Yeah.
And then if I'm never, if you think about what most people's goals are,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want to build muscle, lose fat, be healthier, get
Be
stronger.
Right.
Now the be healthier part, you're crossing that off because you're doing movement.
Right.
So you're moving your body through space and you're doing something. You happen to have weights in your hand, which is great. But if it's like, I want to build muscle, I want to get stronger, we need real strength training.
Yeah.
We
You have
need-
to have some sort of plan.
You have to have some sort of plan, even if it doesn't have to be like crazy dialed in like the 5x6x7.
No.
But if you can say, well, I'm going to practice this certain pattern or patterns
Mm-hmm.
multiple times, and
Yeah.
every time I reset, if I see that one stimulus again, I'm going to try to do a harder variation of it.
Yeah.
Then I'm having adaptation
Mm-hmm.
that's actually a strength training.
Yeah. Something repeatable.
Yeah. And that's with progressive overload. And you can progressive overload with lots of things.
Yeah. It doesn't have to just be really like adding the reps every week.
Yeah. So progressive overload,
Mm-hmm.
we call it PORT method at the studio,
PORT
progressive overload
method.
resistance training.
Prevail Port method.
Okay. So we have strength training, measurably getting results.
Mhm.
You have progressive overload.
Yes.
What's another difference between I'm lifting weights and strength training? There would be like, what's a result or a measurable from like, yes, in 60 minutes compared to like, 6 weeks? Something like heart rate.
Okay.
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 That would be a difference between lifting weights and strength training.
Oh, sure.
If I'm using my heart rate,
Like as a measurable
right,
during your workout.
right.
That's not really what we do when we are strength training.
Right. So if you think about, we talk about RPE all
Yeah.
the time in the studio, right? Rate of perceived exertion.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say something was hard by an 8 out of 10,
Yeah.
which is kind of our golden rule, is to make everything hard by 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Randomly do 10 out of 10, randomly 5 out of 10, but the vast majority of your time, you're at this 8 out of 10 effort.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 out of 10 effort in energy, like muscular demand, and then there's like mental effort, and then there's a little bit of like breathing effort,
Sure.
right? But if we're doing an exercise or combination of exercises,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm always like, it's 10 out of 10 because I'm completely out of breath or because I have a super high heart rate,
Right.
like you're chasing the heart rate or you're chasing the lung feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what your goal is. You're like, oh, I'm not out of breath.
So it wasn't a 10 out of 10.
or it's a 10 out of 10, but you're basing your 10 out of 10 on breath only or heart rate only.
Sure.
And that's lifting weights.
Yeah.
Right. But that's really awesome from doing nothing, but it's not strength training.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like good that you're exercising and good that you're moving, but if you're not getting the results you want, it's not strength training.
Right.
And, with basing off of heart rate, it's kind of like, heart rate is a reflection of the things that I'm doing. It's not something I'm training.
Right.
So if you think about a car driving, right?
Okay.
You push on the gas, the vehicle goes forward.
Yes.
Right? The RPMs in the little motor go up.
Yeah.
The RPM gauge is a reflection of what you're doing. You don't put the RPM gauge there and then the motor does it.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you're feeling like heart rate, your heart rate is the response to something. You're not really training your heart to be heart ratey.
Right.
Which could be a whole nother episode of like conditioning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because even when we are strength training, our heart rate can go up from the strength training, but that's not the goal behind our process.
Right. That's not the goal behind strength training. If
Right.
you do something, generally speaking, you do something like, you do 10 reps of some sort of like squatting exercise or lunge. It requires a ton of oxygen to respond to all those contractions. And then your lungs have to catch up with breathing hard. And you're like, oh, I'm out of breath.
Yeah.
Or if I did this, but I'm not out of breath, is it really strength training?
Right.
If I'm always chasing the heart rate part as my, that's the result I want, don't be surprised that you're not getting stronger, not building muscle.
Yeah, because I can practice a whole bunch of heavy presses or pull-ups or like negative something. And I might never get out of breath the whole 60 minutes.
Right.
And I'm still doing like a really hard lift strength training session.
Right, because strength training it's basically in two components. There's your nervous system, your battery is responding to the result. Like you're charging your battery to make your muscles contract to do a thing.
Yeah.
Or the mechanical tension that's like the 30 pounds of resistance across your tissue is responding. But heart rate is just a back end of that. It's not really like, oh, I'm lifting weights for heart rate.
Yeah.
And then there's another thing about heart rate is when you're lifting weights compared to like doing cardio, there's a stroke intensity compared to stroke volume compared to stroke repetition inside your heart.
Okay.
So if I am doing a heavy set of squats, there's some adaptation to my lungs because I'm breathing heavy.
Sure.
Right. And my heart is having to pump harder per contraction to move a more volume of blood back to my muscles. That's nowhere near the same conditioning element as of doing something repetitive like a stair climb, bike, shuffle, whatever kind of like steady state cardio you're thinking of, like someone's doing, right? So if I'm only chasing heart rate, right, I'm lifting weights.
Right.
Because it's more of that 60,
Sure.
And then you talked about calories.
Just kind of being tired after that 60 minutes.
Right.
I kind of put that in the same.
Yeah.
Which when I kind of started lifting, that was almost really popular for people to do sets of things and want to keep their heart rate up in between the sets of things. It might still be popular, but I just don't see it as much.
Yeah, that's like and it's kind of popular from the burning calories standpoint.
Right.
Because there is some validity to, let's just say that you are newer to exercise or you're very low end on the exercise weekly frequency.
Okay.
And you have a weight loss goal. There is obviously going to be a response if you're like, okay, right now I work out 2 45-minute sessions at a 5 out of 10 effort. I am getting stronger and I'm not doing anything else. Right. And let's talk a little calories in, calories out.
Okay.
And let's just say, well, you know what? I really want to crank up my calories out. Right. Which was going to upset my equation.
Yeah.
You say, oh, well, I want to do 6 workouts a week at 40 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, now I have changed my equation by outputting more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's just say that during a normal calorie, like a heavy strength training session with lots of good rest time, 2-minute rest times, all the stuff, you might burn, let's just call it 400 calories a session.
Okay.
Okay. You're now doing 4 sessions a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's 4 by 4. So you have approximately 1,600 calories in your kind of in and out equation.
Okay.
But you also have all the results
Mm-hmm.
of strength training and building more muscle tissue, which are going to contribute to metabolism.
Yes.
But let's just say that you're like, you know what? I want to burn more calories to upset my equation.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. You could take that 40 minutes and you could do jump rope between all of your exercises.
Okay.
Okay. And then you would burn 550 calories.
Sure.
You're going to burn maybe 10-15% more,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're definitely going to feel more sweaty, more out of breath.
Right.
So now you've
More
gone
tired.
from 1,600 calories to 2,000 calories.
Okay.
So yeah, you could do a bunch of stuff between your exercises and burn more calories.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get to the end of the week, and now you're like, oh, well, I've only really output 400 calories more,
Mm-hmm.
but I've decreased all the quality of my exercise.
Right.
So now I'm not having any adaptations. I'm not having any
To my strength or
right.
my muscle mass.
Right. So my ability to get better at this whatever thing I'm doing
Mm-hmm.
or to build tissue, I've completely taken out all of those long-term,
Yeah.
this like post 60-minute
Right.
results. And I've sacrificed it just to burn 10% more calories.
Mm-hmm.
When we know that someone could take those same 40-minute sessions, get all the results of really good strength training,
Mm-hmm.
and add in 20 minutes of walking, and at the end of the week have the same net change in calories in, calories out.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
yes, you could
Yeah.
definitely add stuff in between.
Sure.
And I think if someone's new, if you're adding in a bulk of exercise, and you go to somewhere that's more of a boot campy kind of, they
Mhm.
say they do strength training, they're lifting weights through space, and you're new to it, and you're like, I'm burning 900 calories a
Mhm.
workout,
Mm-hmm.
which is, who knows how close that is to accurate.
Sure.
You're right. If you do that 4 or 5 days a week, and you do that week after week after week, you're at a 2,000, 3,000 calorie deficit.
For sure.
But how long can you sustain it?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to feel like? And what are the results from that?
Right.
Yeah, you might have lost tissue by the end of the 4 weeks or 6 weeks.
Is
but
it the tissue you wanted to lose?
Right.
Does your body composition look different?
Right. Are we actually stronger?
Yeah.
Did we lose muscle or gain
Mm-hmm.
muscle? Did we lose fat? Or are we just a smaller version of ourselves?
Yeah.
And then you kind of you see this when the people get this like very cyclical pattern where they start chasing that intensity.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, but I'm lifting weights. Yeah, but you're not getting measurably stronger. You're not building any muscle.
Mm-hmm.
You're not improving your capability or ability to do anything
Mm-hmm.
at all, but you're lifting weights.
Yeah.
So that's another big thing about lifting weights versus strength training is strength training is not chasing heart rate
It's kind of like we like to put them in two different buckets.
because they are different things.
Yeah. Like strength training versus like our cardio.
Yeah. And if you're not doing anything and you just randomly start lifting weights, you're going to have strength training responses
Right.
because there's like this newbie,
Yeah.
it's just new stimulus because
Yeah.
you weren't lifting weights and now you are.
Yeah.
But if I'm only ever thinking about, I'm just lifting weights indefinitely,
Mm-hmm.
I have weights in my hand, I'm doing strength training, but there's no more progress.
Right.
We're not doing strength training.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing hypertrophy training. We're not doing anything, but we are moving through space.
Right.
So that'd probably be another big difference between lifting weights and strength training.
Yeah.
Is you're not chasing heart rate. You're not chasing
Mm-hmm.
the out of breath. You're repeating workouts. You have measurable progress
Mhm.
with the patterns that you're having.
Yeah.
Now, if someone's trying to lose weight, why would they want to not go into the gym and burn as many calories as possible? Why would they sacrifice all the results of building muscle and building strength?
Why would they?
Mm-hmm. Like, why would they choose that?
To do the heart rate thing?
Mm-hmm. Like, I'm lifting weights.
Well, I think you have like a more instant gratification after that session,
Right.
which can be really hard. I mean, I was stuck in this for a while as well. I mean, it's just slightly addicting.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you've done so much. You go
Right.
into a heavy strength training session and it's like, well, yeah, you're going to have 2 to 3 minutes of rest time in between stuff. And you might leave the gym feeling fine.
Yeah.
Not sweaty at all.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
And yeah, if you go to like the traditional strong firsty kind of idea,
Mm-hmm.
like their whole principle behind strength training is like you should leave the gym feeling better than you entered it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that doesn't give you that 60-minute like, oh,
I feel
really,
dead.
I feel like
Yeah.
I did a lot and my muscles
am
are burning
dying.
and shaking
Yes.
and I can barely
Yeah.
walk. And
Yeah.
man, I'm so drenched in sweat, which are
Yes.
60-minute results.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome because you're still in the top 10 to 15% of people who are doing anything.
Yeah.
Right. But if you're talking about goals that you have with, I want to get stronger, I want to see more muscles, I want the ability to do more things than I was doing in the past,
Right.
we can't always chase that 60-minute result.
High intensity. Right.
Right. You may need to sprinkle it in because
Sure.
kind of in the Prevail-ish like world in our system, we spend a third of the time in traditional strength training,
Mm-hmm.
big rest times. The number one goal out of that session is, am I getting stronger? Am I giving myself a stimulus to adapt to?
We're going heavy, high quality.
Right. We have another third of the program that is more based on hypertrophy training from a
Mm-hmm.
sense of like, I'm creating enough mechanical tension, enough volume, enough repetitions
Mm-hmm.
so that tissue responds.
Yeah.
And then we have another third that's a hybrid, that's a mix and match, but there's a conditioning element. And sometimes we have a more like kettlebell complex where you're going to feel those things. You're going to feel burn. You're going to feel sweaty. You're going to feel like you've lifted weights.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a version of strength training. But if we were to chase and take that kettlebell complex and make that 100% of our program,
Yeah.
we would always have the 60-minute result.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have a short-term result in 2 or 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
But we would never have the long-term result
Yeah.
of a 12, 16, 20-week progress of like, yes, I'm up in, I'm up in muscle mass. I'm up in my ability to strength train, or I can now lift more weights than possible.
Mm-hmm. And my body composition is really like changing and evolving with that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It would be difficult. You'd have to have really, really smart.
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
if it was just like a, let's just say what's a 20-minute kind of AMRAP-y kind of feel of a thing, like that's pretty traditional, normal, like fitness stuff. It was like, here's 8 things, do them as fast as possible in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
If you're just constantly doing that over and over and over
Uh-huh.
again, the thing that you become adapted to is your ability to do 20 minutes of stuff well.
Yeah.
That's the adaptation.
Yeah.
But the adaptation is not, am I building muscle? Am I
Mhm.
getting stronger?
Yeah. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. It's hard when you start in that world. And I feel like a lot of people kind of start in that world. A
Yeah,
little bit.
because it's the least skilled. It's the fastest to teach. It's the fastest to execute. It's the easiest for the vast majority of professionals, quote unquote,
Mhm.
to execute on.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone can do it
Mm-hmm.
right out of the gate. And it's also been kind of taught to the public that that's the response from exercise.
Right.
Right. It's non-traditional for someone to go, you know what, I want you to do an exercise hard as possible by 4 reps and sit there for 4 minutes and do it again. You know?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's hard.
that's like, if you think about world record holding power lifters
Yeah.
and strength athletes,
Mm-hmm.
that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And even thinking about like high level athletics, if you think about high level bodybuilders,
Mm-hmm.
they're all doing that same thing.
Yeah.
They're all doing something that's super hard,
Yeah.
heavy, demanding, and they're recovering inside of a set or 2 or 2 or 3 minutes, and they're doing another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't take that recovery, you're not able to go heavy
No,
after.
no. Right.
And then you're just lifting light weights forever.
Right. And then you're just doing the same thing over and over and
Yeah.
over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of nuance to this. Like, there's some patterns like, okay, take like a medial delt raise,
Okay.
right? Where you put your hands out to the side.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
delt
Yeah.
raise. I've been doing medial delt raises for 25 years,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
And mechanically, like, you're not going to get past, I mean, you might, if you're a monster, you might get past 25 pounds,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But I've been basically doing like a 15-pound medial delt raise
Right.
forever.
Sure.
Like, for as long as I've ever been doing it, I've
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
always been to the same kind
Yeah.
of close to weight because it's so tight with like that pattern, that exercise. But if you take something like overhead pressing, right? If I'm always overhead pressing a 15-pound dumbbell, and then I never have the ability to press anything heavier than that,
Right.
that's a difference. It's a big pattern. That's a big difference. So strength training versus lifting weights.
Yeah.
We have progressive overload.
Mhm.
We have, am I measurably getting stronger?
Yes.
Not chasing heart rate.
Mhm.
And then we're not chasing calories.
Yeah, or getting sweaty.
You're not chasing getting sweaty.
Yeah.
Because all those things are kind of like, we use this idea of like, like drinking and like if I'm drinking booze to get drunk.
Oh.
Right. But I'm
Right.
also drinking booze to like just go to the bathroom more. Like it's just going to happen.
Oh, right.
Right. If I drink
Right.
a whole bunch of booze
Mhm.
and then it's not that I'm drinking to go to the bathroom more.
Mhm.
That's a result of just the stimulus that I'm having.
Yeah.
So sweat, out of breath, calories.
Yeah, it can happen anyways.
Can
but
happen
it's not like the
anyways.
main focus.
Right. But then if you continue to focus only on that,
Mhm.
you're never going to get the long-term results from the other thing.
Right.
Which is why it's up to what your goals are.
Yeah.
And if your goal is to maintain a level of activity,
Mhm.
and to do that, you like to randomly go to the gym just to lift weights, and that's your habit of exercise,
Mhm.
and that's sustainable for you, that's awesome.
Mhm.
On the flip side,
Right.
if you're constantly saying, well, I'm never getting better, I'm never getting stronger, I'm not developing the muscle I want, well, that recipe isn't going to work anymore.
Right. It's time to change that.
It's time to change something.
For sure.
Right? And if you are consistently exercising and it becomes a body fat percentage,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah.
And you're like, well, maybe I need more muscle mass to contribute to a higher metabolism
Mhm.
so that I can have a lower body fat percentage long term.
Yeah.
Well, that's a different recipe for exercise as well.
Yep.
And there's obviously a different recipe for like movement and nutrition, which is
Right.
a different, that's a whole different
That's a whole different
conversation.
Yeah.
But if someone wants to lose weight,
Mhm.
which is different than losing fat,
Yes.
just moving through space is going to get you there.
For sure.
But if you're like, I want to maintain as much muscle mass as possible,
Mhm.
but I want to lose body fat percentage,
Then you need to lift heavy and watch your nutrition.
we need to be strength training.
Yeah.
Because if I am measurably getting stronger at something,
Uh-huh.
right, I know for a fact I have to maintain my muscle mass in
Mhm.
order to require myself to be able to get stronger at something,
Yeah.
right? And you can also get crazy strong
Mhm.
without actually becoming any bigger version of yourself.
Yeah, I see we need to do the spaghetti.
Do the spaghetti, right? You can look up Science with Sean on Instagram and you can see
Science with
spaghetti.
Sean, spaghetti.
You could repost it.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
can get stronger without getting bigger if
Right.
you're worried about that.
Right. So strength training, and I guess what are the rep ranges for strength training?
Anywhere from 1 to
Uh-huh.
10. 8.
I would go higher than that.
You could go 12.
I would go higher than that.
20?
I would go up to 20 repetitions, even 25 repetitions.
Oh, no.
Because, again, it's all about a repeated stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to create a stimulus of 20 repetitions,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of my progressive overload.
I was thinking of going off of our lift days.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But yes.
But if I'm
yes.
going over a general sense of like physiology,
Yeah.
I can have an adaptation to 20 repetitions.
Mm-hmm.
If I am always doing 20 repetitions,
Mm-hmm.
right, my ability
Mm-hmm.
to get better at 5 repetitions
Mm-hmm.
is going to get smaller and smaller. Like, I'm not going to have that adaptation
Right.
of like, oh, wow, like take 20 push-ups.
Uh-huh.
If I'm doing 20 push-ups on my knees indefinitely,
Uh-huh.
eventually that 20 is going to get easier.
Sure.
But I'm never going to get to the ability to do 1.
Right.
See what
Well,
I'm saying?
yeah, because you haven't trained that.
Right, because that's not the stimulus. But
Right.
the 20 repetitions would create a stimulus.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
So that's why really it's this like window of 1 to 20, 25
Mhm.
repetitions will create a stimulus
Mm-hmm.
of strength training or create a stimulus in hypertrophy, which is like a muscular demand.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So that the window, and then since strength training is an adaptation,
Mm-hmm.
that's part of our system, is that we're never spending a ton of time at the same rep range over and over and over again.
Right.
We're not doing 4 sets of 10 6 days a week indefinitely.
Right.
There are days when you're going to see something that's like 4 sets of 10.
Yes.
But there's other days you're going to see something that's like 4 sets of 5 or 4 sets of 15.
Yeah.
Or you're going to build from 10 to 15.
Yeah.
Or you're going to build from 15 to 10 by going heavier.
Or there might be 2 weeks in there that you see the exact same.
Right, because that's that kind of beat or repeat.
Right.
Because if you think about, I do 3 sets of 10 at 100 pounds.
Uh-huh.
Okay. The next time I come in, that second time, I've had one adaptation from doing 3 sets of 10.
Yes.
I come in, I do the next 3 sets of 10, and now I am better at that 3 sets of 10 than I was the first time.
Yeah.
So technically, I can do the same session again and have adaptation. The third time, 3 sets of 10, we're getting into a little bit of gray area here.
You might need to go a little heavier.
Something needs to change, right? If it's like, well, I did 3 sets of 11.
Right.
Or I did 3 sets of 10 at 101.5 pounds.
Yeah,
Well,
something.
that's a change in stimulus
Yeah.
from strength training versus lifting weights. Okay.
I like it.
Anything else about strength training versus lifting weights?
No, I just love it. It's so fun to like pick up heavier and get stronger at something.
Right. Yeah. And then there's, I think on the last part of that, strength training will become lifting weights. See what I'm saying? Because at some point, strength training to maintain a higher level of strength is still strength training, right? But I'm not chasing calories. I'm not chasing heart rate. But it'd be hard for me to measurably get stronger.
Once you hit a certain point.
Once you hit a certain like mark of like, oh, I can do, let's just say that you take like a deadlift, and like, cool, I can do 300 pounds times 1.
Okay.
Right. If I continue to do all my deadlifts, and I continue to only be able to do 300 pounds times 1,
Okay.
I'm still strength training to maintain that strength.
Okay.
Because if I were to remove away and I were to do only lifting weights, or only cardio, or only some other stimulus, or only chase heart rate, I would not have the ability to do 300 pounds times 1 anymore. It would go away.
Okay.
But I could be doing a considerable amount of strength training to maintain 300 pounds times 1 repetition.
Sure.
So there is an asterisk on the other side of strength training to where there's a lot of effort in it to maintain strength.
Yeah.
Same thing with muscle mass. There's also a point when we get to a point of muscle mass to where
It's hard.
you've got to do a lot of work just to maintain
For sure.
that muscle mass, because us as humans, we're really not designed to carry more muscle mass than's needed from our genetics. But it's easy to hold on to fat that's past our genetics.
Shut it down. Shut it down. 38 minutes.
Perfect.
Perfect, he said. Okay. If you have questions about this, please comment.
Please comment
I
below if you have
love
questions
to
about
see
strength
the
training.
comment.
Easiest way to think about it is, am I repeating a workout
Am I?
at least a handful of times?
Yeah.
And then when I do repeat the workout, I'm never going more than 2 sessions in a row without changing something to make it harder.
Something.
And the something to make it harder is not based off of heart rate or breath.
Right. And it could be a lot. There could be a lot of different things.
Could be.
You could be going a little heavier on weights.
Heavier.
You could be going a little more reps.
Yep.
You could be doing maybe another set.
More sets.
Maybe it's more time under tension.
More time to do the exercise. And then the last one is the range of motion increasing.
Okay.
So and my ability to like squat 100 pounds for 10 repetitions, I was only going through 90 degrees of knee flexion, but now I'm going through 100 degrees of knee flexion.
100.
That's a
Just being
response,
ridiculous.
right? So mobility is also a response of strength training.
I love it.
There you go. So that's what you do. Difference between lifting weights and strength training. If you have any questions about that, that's what we're here for. Ask us. And if you want us to go into get really dorky about it, we can do that too.
He wouldn't love to get dorky. If you do that, you have to wear your lab coat.
There you go. So If you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you're listening to on the podcast, go to Danny_Prevail. Click on the little picture
Instagram
of 12 and tell us if you've decorated or not.
Oh, yes. I would love to know.
There you go.
Okay.
See you guys.
Bye.